So my last video got a lot more views than I was expecting. Very cool, but wish I would have known. I would have put a little more effort into it, but that's okay. I did have somebody comment and say, why do you have so many jump cuts in all of your sentences? Can you not just talk in one take? Rude. Okay, but to answer your question, no bitch, I can't. All right, I've been doing this for 7 years. I can't. I'm Southern and I talk slow, and my speech, which you would see if you like had a conversation with me, but my speech, I have long pauses in my sentences, y'all. It's just how I talk. So I edit that out for your sake. Got it? Maybe in your video you can talk in one take, okay? So yes, if there are new people on this channel, hello. This is a regular monthly video that I do. It is a recap of everything I watched the previous month, like a lot of other channels do. This is definitely a constant, perhaps a crutch for me here on my channel because it's an easy video to make with a little preparation. So I know I just did one, but it's that time again. What I watched in September. And just in case you are new here, I would describe my tastes here on this channel as like bad, really bad or obscure or occult movies, mostly with focus in horror. I love the 70s, I love Euro stuff. Basically, if it's like trash or occult, I'm here for it. So if that's your cup of tea, hang out. Okay, what I watched in September. It is all my Letterboxd with reviews, but this is the video version of that. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and get this out of the way now. I watched Baby Oopsie 3 times this month, okay? I guess that means I was going through it. You know, I needed some comfort, I needed a hug. That's what Baby Oopsie does for me, so I watched Baby Oopsie, yeah, 3 times. All right, now moving on. For our watch party that we have every Friday on my Discord, we watched Death Smiles on a Murderer from 1973. This was a rewatch for me. It's a film I saw out pretty early on because I love Eva Aulin, and I gotta say, I liked it better the second time. It stands out because of its gothic atmosphere, and it's very lush scenery, and it's a period giallo, which I don't really like period stuff, but it's very like Edgar Allan Poe, so I dig it. Next, I watched Demonic Toys, which is another movie that I very, very frequently rewatch. This is a 1992 full moon film, and it's just really freaking good. I'm in the mood for it again because there is like a trick-or-treating scene, and you know, Halloween is upon us, so I may watch that again this month. Oh yeah, but I also watched it in preparation for Demonic Toys Jack Attack. This is a brand new full moon movie, spin-off of original Demonic Toys. So you know we got the Baby Oopsie little spin-off here. Next up was the Jack Attack spin-off. And I was really, really excited for this because obviously Baby Oopsie was really freaking good. But sadly, Jack Attack was not. And I've been going back and forth on whether I want to do a full review of Jack Attack because I was just gonna lay into it. And I almost can't do that because of my respect for William Butler and for Full Moon. I don't want to come on and just roast the movie. Let me know if you want that. Nobody wants that, shut up. Okay, Demonic Toys Jack Attack, released 2023, like it was released in August, right? It's like loosely connected to the end of Baby Oopsie, but like none of the same characters, none of the same nothing. Which I don't like because the end of Baby Oopsie 3 hinted that one of the characters would be involved in the next segment, which would be Jack Attack, but I won't go all the way into it, but the quality was just like way beneath Baby Oopsie. And the movie is, how long was it? An hour tops? I don't know why Full Moon keeps putting out these hour or less movies. It's really annoying. The story and the characters just did not slap like Baby Oopsie did. Yeah, it just wasn't good. read my review on Letterboxd if you are interested. I wrote a freaking novel. I don't know why I write the longest reviews on like the trashiest movies, but Jack Attack was a big no. And I don't know where it's gonna go from here. I don't know if there are gonna be 3 Jack Attacks. I don't know if we're just gonna jump right into Grizzly Teddy, but William Butler has left Full Moon, so I don't know who's gonna pick it up and what they're gonna do with it. Next up, I feel like I watched this forever ago. This is a Lifetime movie called The Killer Next Door. I just thought it sounded fun. Also known as Kill Thy Neighbor. But it wasn't good. I mean, this is what you get from exploitation cinema sometimes. And yes, I'm calling Lifetime movies exploitation movies because Rob from Exploitation Reviews, for one, gave me permission to do so as an exploitation scholar. But the thing we get with these exploitation movies is a title that is an overstatement. So, that being said, this movie known as The Killer Next Door, there's not much killing going on. And yeah, it feels a lot more like a drama than any sort of thriller or horror, but I don't know why I'm surprised every time I watch a Lifetime movie I come away going, eh. Alright, next up was A White Dress for Mariale from 1972. This is a Giallo, which came in my Forgotten Gialli, I think volume 5, that I got from, was it Vinegar? So I blind bought this, and I was like, oh cool, it has Evelyn Stewart and even Rassimov in it. Like that's a good sign. So it has kind of a generic Giallo setting, like a group of friends gathering at a castle for an extended stay. I don't know, I didn't really like it that much. It got a little weird. It reminded me a lot of this movie Gothic from like, I think it was 1987, that it's just like these well-to-do people in a castle that like partake in substances and then just go insane. I don't know, it was just like, oh, it wasn't my thing. I was like, what is happening? It was kind of like psychedelic, but not in a fun way. It was like disorienting and I kept saying, this is the same thing I said after I watched Gothic. I was like, this is a drug movie. I mean, it was kind of worth seeing it for the actors that we already know. So I would say I wouldn't recommend that to someone who is not familiar with these actors, because that's the main draw for that movie. And then next out of that same box set was 9 Guests for a Crime from 1977. This was better. It's a seaside Giallo. So very, very beautiful scenery. I like the overarching story here. I think it was a nicely woven story. It's one of those movies that focuses more on the group as a whole rather than centering on a main character, which I don't always really like. I kind of like when there's a main character for some reason, but also the characters just weren't very significant, you know? So it wasn't gripping. I would say it wasn't an iconic Giallo, but it was pleasant. Okay, so next I pulled out this 2-disc set that Brian sent me. It's a Naschy set and it has Night of the Werewolf and Vengeance of the Zombies. So I start out with Night of the Werewolf, and honestly, I don't remember it that well because frickin' Vengeance of the Zombies overshadowed it by a mile. Okay, but I'm glancing at my Letterboxd review and it's coming back to me. So Night of the Werewolf is not really so much a werewolf movie as it is a vampire movie. So there's a lot of vampire action going on, some really, really beautiful imagery, and just that nice 70s vampire occult sort of atmosphere. Paul Naschy, of course, is the werewolf, and he looks kind of goofy, right? I mean, but what else can you do? What else could you do? So you have really no choice but to take it as seriously as you can. It had a spooky atmosphere. It had nice visuals, you know, making it fit for a Halloween afternoon, but nothing about it was particularly like groundbreaking for me. So let's move on to Vengeance of the Zombies. This was a 1973 release and I loved this movie. I can't stop thinking about it. I want to put it in again as soon as possible. This one's just wild. This is one that stuffs way too many themes into one movie, but I guess I like that because all of these overstuffed films are ones that I usually am quite fond of. The glaring issue with this film, I mean, if you're here in the exploitation world, you're not gonna be like taken aback, but we do have people who are not Indian who have been made up to play Indians on the screen. So that's like kind of weird. But yes, in this film we have like voodoo, zombies, cult activities, Satanism, Indian mysticism, and we even have these Giallo elements. There is like a cloaked Giallo killer in this movie. It's hard to explain now that I'm sitting down trying to explain it, but it's just freaking good. You should watch it. And if you have watched it, let's talk about it. Oh, and last thing I want to say about this movie is the music. It had like this funky 70s music, very upbeat music throughout, which I think really set the tone that this film is meant to be fun. And it just, I don't know, it just brightened my day. Okay, next, I was on Sweet and Spooky's channel for a series that she does called Sips and Screams, yeah. And so we live streamed while we watched a movie together. And that movie was my pick, so I accept full responsibility. That was Stendhal Syndrome from 1996, an Argento movie. So, you know, like, I was like, oh, he's classy, right? So it's gonna be fine. Bitch, it was not fine. Okay? How awkward that I picked a rape movie for the girlies to watch on a Saturday night. It was, awful, okay? It was awful. This is not a slumber party movie. So, there's a very awful assault in this film, and everyone warned us. Everyone warned us once we started playing it. I was like, oh God, I'm sorry. And then it happened, and I have so much to say. Like, this is his daughter, and he put his daughter in a rape movie. Isn't that weird? And it's not like just like a little one, it's like a big one. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so we saw that, and it really kind of took us out of the movie. Like, both Celise and I just weren't really invested at that point. And plus the live stream itself and the chat was so fun that we barely paid attention to the movie. But I still think I can say I did not like it. But if you want to watch the live stream, it is still up on Celise's channel, and I will link it below. It was still fun. Next, I rewatched Fatal Frames from 1996 because y'all may know that's one of my favorite movies. And I'm gonna disclose this to you because we're friends. But the end of that movie, I cry every time. It's like all of a sudden by the end of the movie, everyone can act. Everyone can act for that final scene. And it's just really powerful in my opinion. So every time I'm like, and that was not the intention, obviously, of that film, but I just love it, and I'm also crying because I love it. Next, I watched Serial Mom, you guys, from 1994. I know I've talked about it before, but like, this gets better and better every time I watch it. This is definitely one of my favorite movies, and I just feel like I relate to Kathleen Turner's character more and more as I get older. But don't worry, I'm not going to kill anyone. I'm going to tell you guys another secret. I am going to be Serial Mom for Halloween. You heard it here first. That's how much of an inspiration she is to me. Have you seen this movie? Okay, if you haven't, let me explain. It's not a horror movie, but it's also not a horror comedy, okay? So I don't really like horror comedies, so get that out of your head. This is I guess a dark comedy directed by John Waters. I guess, yeah, it's like a crime comedy. So it's not a spoiler to say that there's this suburban housewife mom who ends up going on a killing spree. And it's just so funny. Like, that is my humor. Serial Mom, that is my humor. Next, I watched The Flower with the Petals of Steel from 1973. This is a Giallo. How did I even find this? I don't know. But it has Carol Baker in it. Oh yeah, alternate titles, The Flower with the Deadly Sting, aka When Houseplants Kill. So this movie was so perplexing that I have every intention of doing a full review for it. And not because it's good, but because you come out of it like, huh? And I need to talk about it. This is one of those movies where I had to keep rewinding it because I'm like, what happened? Like, did I miss something? Like, what happened? Did I blink? Like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you a little something about this movie before we continue. And it's not a spoiler because it's at the beginning, but this girl like gets killed by a plant. And I'm like, but how? Okay, anyway, let's move on. Next. In the Discord, another Friday night watch party. We watched Death Laid an Egg from 1968. I guess we were on an Eva Aulin kick or something. Death Laid an Egg is kind of a polarizing film because it is quite weird. And perhaps I would be lying if I said that I didn't like the movie for superficial reasons primarily. Those reasons being in the title and Eva Aulin and the fact that there are just chickens in the movie. And yes, the soundtrack, the score is quite awful, which is definitely distracting from the film, but I mean, it's part of my family, so this film will always be there. This video is a long one, okay? And I'm not apologizing. I hope y'all are here for it. It's been a while since I've done a long one, so here we are. Next, I watched Dollman from 1991. This is a full moon movie. And I know, why would I watch this, right? It's because I have Dollman versus Demonic Toys that I still have to see. But I wanted to watch Dollman before I watched Dollman versus Demonic Toys just to like have the full context, you know? This is not a horror movie, it's like a sci-fi movie. And it was pretty bad. I was not interested. I found it rather boring and not as good as it could have been. Like they could have made it a little better. Particularly the character of Dollman himself, like, was just so flat. He had no personality. It just seemed like the creators of that movie realized like, hey, I bet we could play with perspective and make it look like there's a man who's really small. And they're like, yeah. And they figure out how to do that. And then they're like, okay, now we just have to write a story around it. And that's all that they could come up with. Woo! And next, this is one that I've been like meaning to get to forever. And I can't say this title, so I'm gonna try my best. Sorority Babes in the Slimeball bowl-o-rama. I did it. Okay, this is a full moon, I think Full Moon put this out originally, from 1988. And this is a horror movie, okay? And I don't know why I had the idea that it wasn't, or that it was horror adjacent, but after watching it the whole way through, like, yes, this is a horror movie for sure. And it is really good. It's got sorority girls, which, you know, I love the theme of sorority. It has Linnea Quigley in it. Y'all know probably already. It has this theme of a group of people being confined in a space together and having to work together. I love that as well. And I think the antagonist that they came up with for this film was pretty unique, like pretty inventive, and it was really fun. This is a great movie. I think the pacing was a little slow at times. They definitely just drug some scenes out unnecessarily. It was also a surprisingly sleazy film. Usually in American films, I don't see people naked for like that long of a period of time. Like it'll be just like little short snippets of people being naked, but this one was like extended scenes, you know, like Italian style. I wrote a pretty long review on this on Letterboxd as well, but I liked it. What did I give it? I have a 3.5, so that's like a B-. Yeah, I would definitely watch that again. It was very cozy, very comfortable. I was watching it I did have some downtime at work when I like had some busy work to do and I could put a movie up. So I was watching that, although it felt really weird to see all those boobs at work. Next was another watch party, and this was my pick. Murder Obsession from 1981. Yes, you know I love a lot of these late period Gialli, and this is a favorite of mine, and it still holds up. The more and more I learn about the genre, when I come back to this movie, I'm still like, yes. Another overstuffed one, too many themes crammed in there, and I am here for it. It went really well. The first time watchers really enjoyed it, and you know, everyone was waiting to see what Laura Gimser would get up to. Yeah, that's a great one, especially during Halloween season. Oh, that reminds me. Last year I made a video of like top 10 Gialli for Halloween. So I'll link that video above and below if I can remember, and you should check that out. Next, I watched Serial Mom again. Uh-oh. Is this my next baby Oopsie? Oh my gosh, I watched so much. Next is Sorority Babes and the Slimeball bowl-o-rama Part 2. Yes, you heard right. This came out in 2023. This is a full moon, brand new movie. I'm pretty sure this is another hour or less long full moon movie, which needs to stop, but let's move on. What did I think of it? One of the glaring problems of this film is it just looks and feels so cheap. And the main problem I have as someone who's literally in filmmaking 101 with a bunch of 19-year-olds, okay? I don't know what I'm talking about. But an issue that I see is the lighting. The lighting is so harsh and unflattering on all of these people. It just like, what? I don't know what they used, but it was just very stark. It showed all the texture on everyone's face. It just, compared to part one, everything looked so much softer, you know? And I guess there's the difference of film versus digital. So I don't know all the technical components behind it, but the light was just like, ugh. And more things that made it seem cheap were the clothes. And I said this in my review that it looked like they shopped at thrift store or Shein. And then I was reading other people's reviews and someone else said it looked like they shopped at Shein. I was like, oh my god. Okay, but let's put all that aside. How's the story? I think the story, it pretty much is parallel, mirrored with the original. So it was almost kind of like a reboot. But I thought the story was pretty good. Also, this was directed by Brink Stevens, who was in the original. So the Taffy and Lisa from part one make an appearance in part two. So that was really special as well. Ultimately, I'll just say this movie could have been way better. But I don't know what kind of constraints they were working within there. So it could have been way better, but it wasn't awful. I wrote a novel on Letterboxd on this movie. Check it out if you are interested in knowing more. And if any of you want to see a fully dedicated review on any of these movies, let a hoe know. Sometimes I think when I talk about full moon, I'm like just talking to an empty room. Next, I was on Theater of's Instagram and they posted about this movie called Murdercise that came out in 2023. And they said it was pretty good, or something to that effect. And I was like, oh, that looks fun, you know, because I love Killer Workout and Death Spot and Murder Rock. So I was like, maybe, what is it? Murdercise will be like of that caliber. Oh, it was not. Oh my gosh. I feel like, I mean, that was some pure trash that I watched. This was not a full moon film, but a lot like Sorority Babes Part 2, the lighting was harsh and unflattering, not cute. This was definitely a low budget, I don't want to say amateur, but you could just tell like a lot of the actors and stuff weren't, what do I say? We're a bit, you know, stilted, as I probably would be too. Oh yeah, and there was a lot of nudity and it felt weird watching such like a cheap film, having so much nudity. It felt like I was watching somebody's home movie. You know what I mean? I was like, am I supposed to be seeing this? It was not good, but I'm not like mad that I watched it. We'll just leave it at that. If you've seen Murdercise and want to talk, I'm here for you, okay? Oh, okay, we're at the last movie. On Friday, September 29th, I was in Los Angeles. And I was there for the Horror Hound H45 Con, which was in celebration of Halloween 1978 turning 45 years old. So, on Friday night, I went to a special theater screening of Halloween 1978. And it was very cool to watch the film on the big screen right after we went to a couple of the filming locations from the movie. It's interesting now, you know, like when you're growing up, everyone's just like, Halloween, Halloween's the best movie. Halloween is like the main horror movie. Like if you need to watch horror movies, you need to watch Halloween. And you know, that's kind of what they teach you, like Michael and Jason and all, like these are just the best, like, and it's just not questioned. So it's interesting now, being older and like knowing a lot more about movies, to watch it more objectively. And I think it is a really good movie, but it is hard to separate it out from its like legendary status. It's hard to separate it out from also the fact that it was one of the first to do what it was doing, at least like in the mainstream, if that makes sense. But I do think it's a very moody and atmospheric and at times genuinely scary film. There's a lot of empty space, you know, of people just walking, and it's kind of a slow-paced film. There's not a lot of action packed in there. It's kind of a minimal film in a lot of ways. I don't really like that it doesn't feel or look like fall. There was like, I felt like there was just one scene where they had some loose leaves and they like blew them down the sidewalk, but like all the trees are green and have all their leaves on them. So, you know what I mean? Like just little things like that where I'm like, it would be great if they could have like really played up that atmosphere. But I haven't even looked into the making of, but I think it was like a pretty low budget endeavor. But yeah, I think Michael Myers is a truly scary figure with like a really cool mystique about him. And the music just makes that film for sure. What do you guys think of Halloween? For real. For real. Let me know. And that is what I watched in September. Amazing that I found so much time to watch movies. Most of that was on the weekend, I guess. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this extended video, and I will just keep getting things out to you every time I have a chance. So my schedule's gonna be sporadic probably, but come back and see me. Ciao.